Jersey Fire and EMS Institute will be hosting their second annual seminar on health, safety, and tactics this Saturday, July 13th, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Middlesex County College. This year's seminar will feature Chief Anthony Avillo of the North Hudson Regional Fire Rescue, Jeff Dill, founder and CEO of the Firefighter Behavioral Health Alliance, and Captain Bob Disbrow of the City of Bayonne Fire Department and Superior Fire and Emergency Training. For tickets, scan the barcode on the screen now or check them out on social media. NJFEMSI. The New Jersey Deputy and Battalion Chiefs Association will be hosting their annual fire service seminar on Saturday, October 5th at the New Jersey City University. This year's speakers include Chief Vincent Dunn, Chief Aaron Heller, and Chief Anthony Avillo, among many other great firematic minds. So scan the QR code on the screen or find them on social media and get your tickets today. Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome to run number 22 of the NJ Fire Guys podcast. Tonight we have a great guest. I'm very excited about this one. He's coming straight out of, originally out of Burlington County, and now he's working in the Seattle Fire Rescue. Firefighter Joe Palombi of the Seattle Fire Department has over 17 years of service prior to that. He began his volunteer time in Wrightstown and Jacobstown in Burlington County, New Jersey. He was first hired as one of the original paid firefighters in the now defunct Hamilton Crosswicks Fire District. Joe then moved on to Bordentown Fire District 2, and while working there, continued working part-time EMS in Trenton to ensure he had a well-rounded profession. After leaving New Jersey, Joe headed to the coastal South Carolina. While there, he was served as a member of the Georgetown County Technical Rescue Team, where he received numerous unit citations. Joe also became a water rescue operator and a rescue swimmer for his department. Joe is a recipient of the South Carolina Medal for Valor. In training around the country, Joe fell in love with the Pacific Northwest. That's when he decided he wanted to become a Seattle firefighter, having always dreamt of being a big city firefighter. Joe became a Seattle police officer prior to his appointment with the Seattle Fire Department. Joe is currently assigned as the tillerman for Ladder Company 12 in the Rainier Valley, one of the nation's most diverse areas. He is also part of the recruit, prep, and cadet programs, having helped develop the department's fire prep program, where interested individuals can get hands-on training prior to being hired. Joe is also active with the department's peer support team. Joe and his wife Gina, also a first responder, are currently starting a nonprofit for first responders and their families aimed to provide peer assistance in a safe location on their farm, utilizing their animals to provide emotional support to those in need. Without further interruption, I would like to introduce my friend, Joe Palombi Jr. Hey, buddy, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
How are you tonight?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Very excited about this one, actually.
This is cool. I'm always happy to be back to New Jersey. I feel like I'm back home.
Yeah, I wish I could hand you a slice of homemade pizza through the screen.
Nobody wants that more than me, bro. Trust me.
I can imagine. Tell us where it started. Start from the beginning when Joe was little, not
little Joe,
7 feet tall.
Well, you read my bio pretty well, so I was always interested in it. My dad was a Trenton firefighter. I was always amazed by the fire service. I always wanted to be a part of it. I was that kid that was like, can we go to the firehouse and see dad? And then I would go there, and I was so excited to see my dad, but I would run straight past him and go straight to ladder 4 and climb up to be in the tiller bucket. And I always had dreamed of being a tillerman, just like my dad was. And so that was like my goal as a kid. And then, you're in Jersey, you're like, okay, I'm going to take the civil service test and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And you take the test, and then it takes forever to, get through all the process and everything like that. And so I was volunteering in Burlington County in a couple of small agencies and just trying to get all the experience I can. Like before duty crews were a thing, you know, I was that kid that had no life. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go hang out at the firehouse just in case there's a call. And if not, I'm just going to try to find some training on YouTube. I'm going to try to just stretch some hose. The guys on my truck are now going to be mad because I said I touched hose when I was young. We didn't have trucks. But yeah, so I would just be trying to do my own thing in hopes that we got a call. And in a weird roundabout way, you know, in Burlington County and small town firefighting, you have mutual aid coming from everywhere and you don't necessarily know everybody that's showing up. So ended up on the line at a fire with this guy. I had no idea who he was. We made a good push up some stairs and a real hot fire came down. He introduced himself. Turned out he was the chief of a neighboring department. And they had just started this paid program where they had basically firefighters doing banker hours. So Monday through Friday, 7 to 5. And he was like, hey, we just hired 3 guys. We have needs for part-time guys and we have a spot that's likely going to open soon if you're interested. And so it was just some roundabout way that this happened. And then I started working per diem there. And then as soon as a spot opened up, I interviewed and got it. So I got super lucky.
That was with Crosswicks or?
Yeah. So that was Crosswicks or Hamilton Fire District 9, or excuse me, not 9, 1. So we were right up next to Hamilton District 9. And so we were like the stepchild. Like we were basically had this little slice of Hamilton, but we weren't Hamilton. Those guys doing way bigger things, and we were in a small town. We were just kind of like that step kid.
Well, I don't know if you know if you knew this, but Crosswicks is no more.
I know that. Yeah,
they merged with Chesterfield, and I think they're up to 4 guys around the clock now.
Yeah, it's crazy from Monday through Friday, 7 to 5, nights, weekends, and holidays off, and now they've got 24-hour coverage. That's the dream, man. But unfortunately, it came at the expense of, you know, volunteer firefighters just not able to keep up with, you know, who can keep up with the economy and then go work for free, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. So it's good to see that they're doing big things. I love to see that they merged. I like seeing that Hamilton merged. So, but the way I look at it, man, I don't forget where I came from. So I left Crosswicks for a neighboring town, Bordentown Township, which is where I met you as a per diem firefighter there. And bro, I swear you couldn't get one good picture of me. Like you stalked my Facebook enough that I'm thinking about contacting the police.
That was a great picture of you. I mean, a horrible picture for me because my truck's on flatbed.
That was your truck, yeah. But even the one you put up, for the advertisement, I was like, damn, man, you couldn't find one good picture of me. That's just wife's gonna leave me when you're putting pictures up like that.
Hey, there was much worse.
So that's where we were at Bordentown. We
speaking
came
of
in
guys in Crosswicks.
Yeah, that's some of the guys right there. My time in Crosswicks was super cool. It was we were developing as the department grew. It was small town. I was super fortunate.
You were young.
I was 18, super young. 19? I got hired at 19. Super young.
And then you were lieutenant like a year and a half later.
Yeah, 2 years later. I started. I started when I was 17 as a volunteer. Got hired at 19. Got promoted at 21. So super young, super lucky. But again, you're also only testing against 3 guys. So I mean, and I was young, man. I can openly say that I was young and just trying to learn and trying to do the right thing. Yeah. And I definitely didn't always make the right decision. I was young and dumb and just trying to make it work and do the right things. And it was hard. It was, you know, just like the book, you're going buddy to boss and you've got people higher up than you. You've got the commissioners coming down, kind of laying the hammer on you and they want this and that done. And you're trying to navigate the right way. And I was the youngest guy.
And really, no offense to you, but that's almost unfair to do to somebody. Like,
bro, it was hard.
Yeah,
they
almost set you up for failure. It sounds like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a learning experience. I definitely, it was definitely struggles. I hated the thought of like having to be a boss, and then it was, you got to write these guys up for this or that. And I'm like, man, this sucks. Like this, it definitely ruined the taste in my mouth for promoting. But it's, again, no fault of theirs. You know, you got a small department, you're trying to get a chain of command in place. They put a test out, and it was just trying to make the best of what they had. I definitely made my mistakes along the roads for sure, and just tried to learn from them. But I was paranoid. I remember as soon as I started testing, I was like, I gotta start taking more training. And I trained a lot already, but I was spending any class. I would like pull up the list of the vacancies at like Mercer and Burlington County, anything I could find. And I'd like, okay, let's look at the schedule. Click, 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 and just sign it up.
Yeah.
And they're like, why are you taking this? Because now it's just not just me. Like, it's not just my life now. I've got other people, and I don't want to knock on somebody's door and say, I messed up, and your husband or your son, you know, is gone, and it's my fault. And so I took that to heart, and I did that for a bit, but I knew that I wanted to grow. I knew that I wanted to go to a busier agency. I dreamed of that city firefighter life like my dad had, and I'd always wanted to do that. So I went to mutual aid next door to Bordentown in Burlington County. That's where we met. We both started there per diem for a bit, and then I got picked up full time, and I got to work there for a couple years. I filled in basically as a day shift to add an extra guy to each shift during the day. And then somebody got hurt, and I got moved to 24s. And as soon as I got a taste of those 24s, I was like, this is it, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do banker hours no more. I want to do 24s. For the area we were in, as you know, we had an engine and a truck. We cross-staffed it. The truck was the first due truck for like 4 different towns. So got a lot of away games. Yeah, so those were the best, you know. But again, still wanting to be in a bigger city, that was the goal. And then with the whole knocking on doors, I'm sure you remember it. I'm sure a lot of guys remember having to knock on doors and just basically beg for yes votes for the budget.
Yep.
And be like, and hey, hopefully you vote for our budget so I don't lose my job. And I just couldn't imagine doing that for my whole life. And we were at work one day, and a guy shows up in this Dodge Charger. It's got a palm tree on the side. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And he used to work there, and he was like, oh, I'm down in South Carolina, and he's painting this picture. I'm like, damn. He's like, right on the beach.
That's pretty good.
Getting paid to be a fireman. They got palm trees and shit on their ride. Oh, my bad. I'm probably not supposed to say shit.
No, you're good. You're good. You say anything.
I was like, damn, they're doing all right. And so I kind of just put my name out there as a let's see what happens thing, you know, kind of just wanting to move myself up and keep going. And I felt like with the way the civil service was, you're going to have to basically just pick a city, hope you get hired off the list. If not, you're living in the city. And I kind of wanted to, nothing against my father. I love my dad. My dad is a great fireman, retired now for probably 10 years, but hearing stories from the guys he worked with and stuff, I wanted to be, if I was half the fireman my dad was, I'd be pretty damn happy. But I wanted to do it without using his name. Like I didn't want to ride a coattail. And so
I hear you. I know the feeling.
I got that call to South Carolina, and I couldn't turn down the palm trees, bro. It's like, oh, the beach? You're going to pay me to go to the beach? We got to pay in New Jersey to go to the beach. So I took a job in South Carolina, just south of Myrtle Beach, and everything. I was like, this can't be real. You're going to pay me to be a fireman. I'm going to live by the beach. Then I was like, I'm going to buy a house because that's the adult thing to do. And I'm thinking about housing in New Jersey. And I built my house in 2011. It was a mile from the beach. It's 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage, outdoor shower. It was like $154,000. I was like, this is great. Got my tax bill. It was like $600. I was like, is this for the month, the quarter? They were like, the year. I was like, damn, this place is great.
Dude, my first condo, 1-bedroom condo, not even 800 full square feet in New Jersey, was 130.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, it's definitely there's definitely a change, but with that, you take a pay cut.
Yeah.
So my pay was embarrassingly low there, enough that just like most firemen, you're working a second job, sometimes a third job. I worked 2 other jobs other than the fire department there, just to have a good life.
Yeah. Well, even in New Jersey, you were always grinding. If
Yeah,
you
man,
weren't
you have
training,
to.
you were working Trenton and Lawrence EMS.
Yeah, Trenton and Lawrence EMS, man. I figured between the 2 of those, I was doing that full time. It'd be, work the fire department 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., then go ride the ambulance 6 p to 6 a and come back and do it again.
Yeah.
I got a lot of experience, man. I thought that the more runs I went on, the more people I worked with, good and bad, like I could figure out who I wanted to be as a fireman, who I wanted to be as an EMT. Because in most places, I mean, the truth is, we're firefighters that do EMTs or EMS.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do EMS, there's not a whole lot of places that you can go be a fireman and not do EMS. So my thought was, whatever I want to do, I don't want to suck at it. So getting the reps.
I hear you. So you're in South Carolina. I see you. You were part of a tech rescue task force. Talk about that, man.
So the way it was is a smaller department, 20 miles south of Myrtle Beach, 3 stations. And as soon as I got there, and I was like, oh, they got a ladder truck, I want to be on that. So I was like, sign me up. So I was like, let's see all the training I need to be on the truck company. And then they were like, oh, the truck cross staffs the jet ski. I said, wait a minute.
Shit.
Y'all got jet skis? I'm in. And so got my water rescue operator and my rescue swimmer cert. I loved that. Became a rescue swimmer instructor. Started helping out with the rescue swimmer team and everything. Got in on that. And then that was a part of the technical rescue team. And so getting on the technical rescue team got you a whole bunch more training, a whole bunch more experience, and you could go elsewhere. And then the biggest things we had, though, were like hurricanes, hurricanes sweeping through. And then it was like, hey, you're going to get activated. And it was just up and down the coast of South Carolina where we would go. But then it'd be like, all right, you're assigned to the rescue. Okay, you're going to hoof it up and down the beach and basically force entry to every home and search it, So I remember when Hurricane Matthew hit, the police department chief came through and he handed letters to all the residents. Like, you're saying you're not leaving. We're telling you we're not coming, because once winds sustained at like 65, 70 miles an hour, the policy was y'all weren't going. And so we were hearing dispatches come out for working fires, and the chief would be like, what's the wind speed? Like 85 miles an hour. So not putting my people out there. And so we're like sitting there watching to see when the wind would drop down enough. And it's like a free for all. Okay, winds are at 40 miles an hour, and everybody's boom out the door.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a super interesting thing to be a part of that. Eating MREs on the beach, and you're like, oh, sitting down having a nice meal on the beach, and you're like, nope, just with this dude sitting next to me on the sand eating this shitty Salisbury steak. But it was a good experience. It was good to have a little different experience and see some things. And it was kind of crazy to start just busting doors in and searching beach homes. Then we had some pretty bad flooding and going to do water rescue for that. It was just cool to get the experience. Everything I looked at was more experience to make me better.
Now that area, Pawleys Island, Midway area, that primarily, like, that's a lot. It seems like that area is growing up a lot more now.
Yeah, it's
where was
booming.
It, like, what was the kind of demographics when you started down there?
When I first started, they were like, hey, this is a beach community. Summertime's pretty crazy, and then it dies down in the winter. They were like, you could go in the winter, like, and maybe not. That's what they would say. But my first year, I got down there in July, so it was booming when I got down there.
Okay.
And they were like, yeah, don't get used to it. It'll die down in the winter. But all of us people from the Northeast realized, damn, you can live at the beach for that cheap. And so everybody was moving down there. So the boom was already starting. Like we weren't having terribly quiet winters. Definitely nothing like the summer, but we were, we were having calls in the winter still. Like the way they made it sound was it was going to be like, yeah, you're probably going to have a bunch of no hitters in the winter. And that wasn't the case. But the winter time, I figured if it's going to be slower, I'm just going to start going elsewhere to train. So I would just pay my own way. Right to work state, you don't have a good contract. You don't have things like that.
Yeah.
So you could work unlimited trades. And so I would just work a trade for somebody and then I just keep it in this little composition notebook because I'm old. And I would put that thing in there like, I worked for Nick. He owes me. And I'd write the days and I would bank those things up. And I'd be like, oh, FDIC's coming up. I'm going to pay my way. And then I'd open my book and I'd say, oh, Nick, you owe me a day. And so I would just send a message out to everybody that owed me a day and said, hey, I need this many shifts. Pop your name in where you can.
Yep.
And I would just send myself to train. Baltimore, FDIC, Florida, wherever I could go to get training, I was in.
Yeah.
And so between the TRT and the fire department, I got a lot of reps in and I got a lot of training.
Nice. So then you left there. You went to Charleston?
Yep, Charleston. I left. Yeah, I went to. I left Midway. Went to Charleston Fire Department. I was like, that's big city. Like that's pretty great. But while I was still in Midway, I was testing everywhere. Just kind of going wherever and testing. And if you remember, I love to travel. Been a ton of different countries. Mm-hmm. Anytime I got an opportunity to go somewhere, I would go. And I went on a cruise out of Seattle. Went to Alaska in like 2012, and I was like, this is a cool city. Start looking up the fire department. They got a station right on the water. They were super cool. Brought me in the station, showed me around. The more I looked into it, I was like, this is a good department. I'd like to test here. And that immediately became the dream.
All right.
But Charleston put out something that they were hiring. Looked into Charleston. I was like, man, the history behind the city of Charleston and the fire department made me want to be there. Yeah. And so I put in, I got it, and I went there, and it was, no lie, the most difficult and most physically demanding training I ever had. The hardest academy I ever had. They did a RIT class, Rescue the Rescuer, that was ridiculously intense. And they had a school that the city owned that was no longer a school, and they just let police and fire do whatever they wanted in it. And so they would just throw props all over the school. It was amazing. All right. But like, it was definitely the most physically demanding training I ever had. But when I got done academy, I was like, I earned this. Like there was no doubt when you got out, you earned it. I loved it. The city is great. The department is amazing. Those guys are dealing. I don't know if you follow anything down there, but those guys are dealing with a shit sandwich pretty much all the time because they don't have a contract, right to work state. Yeah. They're trying to switch their schedule. They're getting mandated all the time. They don't get acting pay. They don't get specialty pay, like all these things. And these guys just keep doing it because they care about their job and their department. Yeah. They want to continue the traditions. Definitely some of the coolest firehouses I've ever been in. Some of the downtown stations are some of the oldest continuously running in the country. Still got grooves in the floor for the horses to get traction. Nice. Like I look at like my station now and I think of like some of the stations I worked at in Charleston and I'm like, damn, they have grooves in the floor for the horses and we got a fucking pickleball court set up on ours. We are not the same. They're so much different. But, like the Charleston 9, obviously a huge loss to the fire service. The department never forgot. Like everybody says, never forget. The people in that department literally never forgot. They've got an emblem on all their rigs. It's on all their uniforms. They've got their patch, the anniversary. So June 18th, 2007, the anniversary every year, they stand guard at the memorial. So they put a sign up out like a month or two ahead and you sign up. And the thing is, from midnight to midnight, those 9 guys won't be alone that whole 24 hours. And people from all over the country come and stand guard at that thing. Wow. And still to this date, one of my highest honors is that I got to stand guard for the Charleston 9 on the 10-year anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, super cool. And then it changed a lot of things in the fire service for Charleston at that point, that bumped them up to four-man staffing, bumped them up with their accountability system, going to the passports. They changed some of the way they deployed hose lines. They changed the way they did a lot of things. Unfortunately, like a lot of places, it was reactive instead of proactive.
Unfortunately.
But if you look at it, there's a lot of places that don't learn from their mistakes and just keep moving on. And that's just how we always did it.
Yep, exactly.
So, yeah.
Like you said, their academy was the most physically demanding that you've ever been
without
through.
A doubt.
And they learned, they didn't want to do this again.
I still talk to a couple of my instructors and a couple of the guys I went through with. And I laugh now, being that I've taught a recruit class in Seattle. I'm like, man, I wish I could have done what you did to me. Like I just couldn't believe how hard it was, but I felt so much more accomplished by the end,
Yeah.
Like in the age of participation trophies and shit like that, like there was no participation trophy there. Like the second day they set up a maze basically where you're following the hose line and you're masked up and blacked out. And I just remember I just came through and I just hear them screaming. I'm like, I don't even know if they're screaming at me. So I'm just like standing there like an idiot because I'm blacked out. I'm standing there at attention. They weren't even yelling at me. I had to wait till they said somebody else's name, but I just stood there and took it.
And what the hell are you doing just standing there?
Yeah. They're like, who's this idiot? This big dumb idiot standing here. But they got in this dude's face because he was stuck and he's like, I can't do it. And they were like, what are your kids' names? And he said his kids' names. He's like, I want to know who I'm handing the flag to. Wow. And like right then and there, my man took his mask off. He said, this ain't for me. And I was like, you know what? I would rather you find out now than you find out when we're going in on one.
Well, yeah, when it's me trapped and you got to come for me.
Yeah, or we're partnered up and some shit hits the fan and you're like, no, this isn't for me, actually. I got to go. And then you leave me.
Yeah.
It was a great department. But again, they're fighting for wages. I just, one of my tailboarders just went out and visited some of the guys I knew out there. They're making $15 an hour. Give or take $15 an hour to be a paid firefighter.
It's wild.
They can't afford to live in the city of Charleston.
Yeah.
Like they're dealing with some serious shit, and the city council seems like they're trying to change some things. They seem supportive. So fingers crossed they get what they deserve because those dudes are working their ass off.
Shit.
Some of the toughest dudes and girls I ever worked with came from there. Yeah.
Shit. Just think about it. Fast food workers are getting $15 an hour.
Yeah, man, and that's a lot safer than what we're doing.
Yeah, this is a guy you want. This is a guy you don't that you want to risk your life to come get you and your shit.
Yeah, not flip my patty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So how long were you in Charleston?
It's just about a year. It's a short time. I was on the list for Seattle already when I went over there. I didn't think things would move as fast. Got my ranking in Seattle and I was like, oh, all right. Like, this is good. Cause like, I knew it was a long shot. Like 10,000 people took the test. So I figured it was a long shot. Then I was moving along in the process and I was like, oh, this is looking like it might happen.
Okay.
And then the HR lady calls me and she's like, you're just what we consider a flight risk. I was like, what do you mean? You're coming from literally the opposite end of the country. And, I have no military points. I have no extra points for anything. I'm just this goofy dude from South Carolina, New Jersey, trying to get over to the other side of the country.
Yeah.
And they had a few people that came out there and then left because, it wasn't for them or it was too far from family.
Yeah.
And so they said, you're a flight risk. I was like, well, I can't really do anything about that.
Yeah. I can't prove it until you give me a shot.
Yeah. And so I didn't know what to do. And she was like, well, if you were a city resident or a city employee, that would really help your chances. I thought, lady, I'm not going to go start slinging trash just in hopes to be hired as a firefighter. Yeah. I've been doing this for 10 years. I can't do that.
Yeah.
She's like, well, Seattle police is hiring. And I was like, I don't know. And sat down. I talked to my family. I talked to some of the people from New Jersey that I really respect, some, chiefs in Trenton, some guys that I grew up with and said, what do you think? And they said,
Was
Go
this
ahead.
guy one of them?
Steve Schnaut, that's a good one, man. He came out for the That's the Charleston 9 Memorial right there.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to Steve. Naturally, everybody's initial reaction was to laugh because the thought of me being a cop is pretty humorous. I can't even deny that. But people said, they knew that was my goal, and that if I didn't do something, I would regret not taking that chance.
Yeah.
And so I went and talked to my captain. I got assigned to a ladder company in Charleston, and I started talking to my captain. He's like, let's talk to the battalion chief. Talk to the chief. He's like, okay, let me go talk to the chief of the department. I was like, oh. He comes back. He's like, hey, you should take that opportunity. So go to do my exit interview, and I'm sitting in there with my captain and my chief. And the chief says, so, Joe, I'm going to give you 2 years. I was like, 2 years for what? He's like, if you come back here in less than 2 years, you can keep your spot and you don't have to go back through academy. Excuse me. Because I was like, dude, if this is a Hail Mary, if this doesn't work, then what? I live out in Washington and I didn't get hired as a firefighter. Then what, So they gave me kind of this cushion and gave me quite the opportunity and said, you got 2 years.
Well, at that point,
within that 2 years, man, you're good. And so I was like, well, he gave me the green light.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I guess I'm a cop. I guess I'm going to be a cop now.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I moved out to Seattle.
So real quick, before we move on to Seattle.
Yeah.
You received your recipient of the South Carolina Medal of Valor.
I am. I'm very lucky.
What did you get that for?
So before I went to Charleston in the smaller department, I was very fortunate to be on the truck company, but you don't have the staffing, you don't have that contract protecting you, things like that. So there were times where I was on a truck company by myself, assigned to a 95-foot mid-mount tower by myself. Sometimes I had a second guy. I was lucky to have a second guy.
John Wayne.
Yeah, and that's what it was. There was a lot of times where like you would take off, and if you knew the district better, you're showing up on a fire and it's you and one other guy, and the guy next to you, he's in the officer seat, but that's only because there was nobody else to put there. They didn't staff that rig with lieutenants and captains. They staffed that rig with whoever could sit in the right front, and then the driver was essentially the driver and the acting officer. So we got dispatched to a structure fire, pulled up with the engine. The engines were all staffed with 3, but the truck was staffed with a minimum of 1, typically a maximum of 2. And their thought was, well, the medic unit, they'll come over and they'll be your extra guys on the truck. Okay. But everybody's medic units are running calls, so if they're on the way to the hospital or on the way back to the hospital and a call comes in, you don't have extra guys on your truck.
Yeah, you're still by yourself.
Yeah, so we got hit for a structure fire with a victim trapped, and we showed up, and it was a duplex, and engine went in, kind of hoarding conditions-ish, and I went in by myself with them, and the tailboarder and I found the person. The captain came in and started calling things out, and we drug her out to the front, and there was no medic unit there yet. And so it was like, that, what do you do? Nobody else is here. So I was by myself. So the captain and the tailboarder of the engine went back in, and I stayed out with her, and I didn't have much to give her. So I took my face piece off and gave her my face piece and just hit the purge and started giving her air. And then the medic unit showed up, and the medics came and did their Paragod stuff, man. They saved the lady's life, and I just happened to be fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time, and got to be a part of pulling somebody out and letting them have another day.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, and job well done.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is right place, right time, and going on instinct, but
and doing the right thing.
Yeah. But it's also like, I didn't do it alone. And I think recognizing that I had a strong foundation from the people I learned from in Jersey and in South Carolina, and having extra hands that day and having the ability to have 2 guys still go in and me be able to work on that lady myself, like it was just a team effort, and we all got that award. So it was super cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. My last day in the department. So they gave me like a plaque that says South Carolina Medal of Honor. And I was like, well, that's awkward. I have a plaque that says medal, but cool. So I took it and said, thank you. And on my last shift, I was actually acting as a lieutenant, and I see the chief walk in and the assistant chief, and like my parents are there, my sister's there. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm just trying to have a nice last shift. And they actually, that's it. It's my sister. So it's my sister, Jen. And that obviously I wasn't prepared because I'm in a t-shirt or a long sleeve t-shirt. So I didn't know it was coming, and they delivered the Medal of Valor to me. So it was a really cool experience, and it was cool because my family just happened to be there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Yeah. So now you become a Seattle cop.
I went to the dark side. Yeah.
So what hiring process? What is it like being a cop, like becoming a cop?
The hiring process, like comparatively, because obviously I did the fire department and police department in Seattle. Yeah. The hiring process was so much more friendly for the police. Like the fire department, I'm coming from Charleston. So they'd be like, hey, we have a written test. So boom, 6-hour flight, hotels, all that stuff. And you take the written test, then you fly back. And a month later or 2 months later, you got to come out and do a physical. Then you fly back. I think I had to do 5 or 6 trips to get hired by the fire department or get on their list.
Okay.
The police department was 1 trip. They did everything in a weekend. So you showed up, you went to University of Washington, sat down at like 7 a.m, did your written test, finished your written test, and they were like, all right, come back at 11. Come back at 11 a.m. and everybody's sitting back in these classrooms, and they just call a bunch of names. Like, when we call your name, please come with us. And they call these names. And I'm like, damn, some of these people look smart as shit. And they're pulling them out of the classroom. I guess that's the passing number. So I was like, oh, well, I guess it didn't work. So they all left, and their door shuts, and they're like, congratulations, you passed. You moved on to the next round. You have 2 hours, and we'll meet you at the track, and you're going to go do your physical. And so in 2 or 3 days, we got everything done. So it was written, physical, 2 interviews, background check, and you got a background investigator. I think the only thing I had to fly back for was my polygraph. So almost everything was done. I was already on the list in 1 trip. And then when they said, we want to offer you a job, that's when I had to come out and do my polygraph. Okay. So that was way more friendly than what the fire departments was. And making $35,000 a year and having to fly back, 6 or 7 times to do this for the fire department was not easy. That's why, like you said, you got to hustle, working a whole bunch of jobs to make it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got lucky, and I got put into a recruit class, and the first day it was like, okay, you're going to come do your physical assessment. And I drove my Jeep and trailer across the country and showed up the morning of the assessment. And all these people are all huddled up. I'm like, shit, all these people know each other already. And I saw somebody with a Seattle patch, so I went up and started talking to her. And I was like, I guess we're going to be in the academy together. Did all that. Police academy was more like college. It was like, you have a 2-hour block of this, a 2-hour block of that. And it was like Monday through Friday, but it was like block scheduling. It's kind of a weird layout. And then you get done and you go to Seattle's academy, and it's like a month of like Seattle specific, because you have to get certified in the state, and then you go through and you get Seattle's training. And that's where they have like black belts in the department that beat the shit out of you for a week and teach you defensive tactics. And then you get a week of firearms and all this other stuff. So it was a cool experience. And it turns out, not that I knew at the time, but obviously now I know, the girl I met that was the first person I met from Seattle is now my wife. So that's her.
Lady here?
That's my wife, Gina.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So she came in with me and was a Seattle cop and a complete badass. She worked in probably the worst part of the city, and she was great. She's an amazing cop. So I had to leave the fire service to get back to the fire service. But in that time, I became a cop, became more well-rounded as a first responder, and got to meet my wife. And for some reason, she still tolerates me. But this is a fire podcast, but being a cop in Seattle was kind of crazy.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Like we would get made fun of in academy because it was a state academy. So you had people from everywhere.
Okay.
And they would be like, oh, Seattle, like, do you even get bullets in your gun? And at first I was like, well, shit, do I? Like, I imagined.
But I don't know. Like, I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. We're just getting to this. And they're like, Seattle's a hug-a-thug type city and this and that. I'm like, shit, I really messed up. And then I think it was like, it was definitely in my first rotation of shift. So we did 4 days on, and it was definitely in my first rotation. And we showed up to a call, and they were like, this guy went into his mom's house, and he beat her with a frying pan, and he thought she was dead. So he sat down and started doing drugs in her living room, and he thinks she's dead on the floor, but she army crawled out to the neighbor's house. Well, now he's in the house. And I was like, so now what do? We call SWAT team or something? They're like, you want to kick that door? And I was like, I sure do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. They were like, you're a fireman. You can force doors, right? I was like, yeah, I can. And so everything went out the window at that moment where they were like, oh, it's hug-a-thug and you don't get bullets. And next thing you know is you're kicking a door in and guns out. And it was a pretty cool experience. I worked with amazing cops. I definitely could tell that there wasn't the support from the city and some of the communities, at least.
Whatever are you talking about?
Yeah. Chop and Chaz was a real thing. Thankfully, I wasn't a cop.
I was going to say, isn't that the police department that they want to defund?
Yeah, they did. They did defund them for a while, but thankfully I was out of there before that. But it was definitely an eye-opening experience, and seeing the difference of like what they treated me like just because of the way I looked, literally because I was wearing a different uniform. It was mind-blowing, but it was a great experience. I got to learn a lot from really great people. And then obviously the coolest thing was the fact that when I leave the police department and become a firefighter, that girl I met happened to like me enough after she was married when I met her. I thought she was apparently separated. So I was just like, oh, I have a friend. And then I became a fireman and we started dating, and now we're married. So like 4 years strong now. So the police department brought some cool things, but I got out before Chaz and Chop. Did that make the news over there? Were you guys seeing all that?
I don't know the like Chaz and Chop reference, but
okay. So Chaz and Chop was
I also haven't watched the news in years. Like if it's on in the firehouse, I'll either walk out of the room or change the channel.
Yeah.
I'll watch cartoons all day. Swear to God, I'll watch cartoons all day instead of the news.
So Chaz and Chop, there was this area in the city in Capitol Hill that during the George Floyd riots, which were really big in Seattle, I don't know why, because
I was going to say
Minneapolis is over here, but whatever. Big protests, and then these groups just started like occupying the streets. And
I saw all that, like the Occupy Seattle. Yeah.
So what they did is they essentially took over a bunch of city blocks and just owned it. And they called it the Chaz. It was the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. And so it was no cops allowed in there.
Yeah,
and there was
no cops allowed.
Armed people. Yeah. There was people with rifles walking around there and like stopping you from getting in and stuff like that.
That doesn't sound too autonomous.
No, it was pretty crazy. And it was very strange because like we were this whole happy zone, and the mayor called it the summer of love. It was kind of crazy because we were getting called to shootings there. It didn't sound like there was a lot of love.
That's a little.
But the fire department, obviously, we're not going to respond to a shooting without the cops. And so there was this big rift. There's a pretty good YouTube video of a couple of our medics, and they're staging out front. And this guy comes up and he's like, we'll take you to the patient. And the medic's like, no, I'm not going there without the cops. And he's like, no, we're not letting the cops in there.
Well,
Like
then
cops
that
can't come.
patient's
And they were
gonna
like,
die.
then we're staging. You can bring them to us, but we're not going in. And this whole time, this dude's got a rifle in his hands and he's screaming at our medics, and our medics ended up just pulling away. Like, this isn't safe for us. But it was a crazy time to be in Seattle.
Now, what was like the fallout for that?
Bro,
Like,
I don't know.
I mean,
They
like,
took over one of the precincts in the police department. Like, broke down the doors and
oh
took
no,
it
no, I'm
over.
saying like for the medic unit. Like,
Oh no, the department. I mean, we have
the
a very
depart-
strong union. We're super lucky. We have
Okay.
local 27 through the IAFF. We knew that this was kind of screwy, but the department did have our back and basically say, like, you know, our safety is paramount. We're not gonna, we can't help anybody if we're going in there. And what's the liability if we go in there without police coverage and there's these dudes with rifles and there's a shootout? Like, it's not worth it. And those medics were super senior medics, and they made the right call. But
absolutely.
The fire department is really cool because anything you do in the fire department, you have to be a firefighter first in Seattle. So if you want to be a medic, you still had to be a firefighter for 3 years before you can even apply for the medic program.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to be a dispatcher, that's cool, but you have to be a firefighter first.
Oh, wow.
You want to be a fire investigator, you had to ride the rig first. Like, all of our specialties, you had to start out as a tailboard firefighter first.
Wow.
So, like, our medics know what it's like. Still like that. So, like, all our salty ass medics, like, they were all firefighters somewhere for however long first.
That's pretty
so
wild.
They know what it was like ahead of time. You know, they know, or I guess they know what it was like beforehand, before they became medics.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a good thing. It's a cool way to do things, because then you get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So that's what Chaz and Chop was. But my parents would call and they'd be like, "Is it really that bad?" And I'm like, I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not walking through it to check it out, but we're definitely getting a ton of calls, and we were upstaffing rigs downtown. They would call you for overtime, and we got 4 people on each rig, engine and truck.
Okay.
And they would call and they'd be like, "Hey, can you staff overtime on ladder 10 down in Capitol Hill?" Yeah. And I'd get there and I'd be like, "Okay, where are we sitting? What seat am I?" Like, "You're in the number 6 seat." And I'm like, we only have 4 seats. What do you mean the number 6 seat? Like, "Oh, you're sitting on the little fold down seat. That's you." We're upstaffing rigs because now it was getting to the point people were stealing stuff off our rigs on calls, and there was issues. So it was like, all right, well, the driver has to stay with the rig. And so they upstaffed it to deal with the protests and the bump and calls and stuff like that. And it was some of the craziest things I've ever seen. Like, the city looked like a war zone. All the buildings were, you know, looted, and there was plywood up on all the windows. Like, it didn't even look like the same city.
Wow.
It was sad, man. And I mean, the plywood's down off the buildings now, but so many of the stores and stuff said, "I can't deal with this.
Yeah.
Like, this is not it." So that was what Chaz and Chop was.
Now, is it still like a demilitarized zone, if you will?
No, that got handled after a while, but it went on for quite some time, definitely longer than it needed to. Like, it should have never happened, but it almost seemed like it was supported from politicians. Like, at one point, the city brought in ecology blocks and, like, put them up. And the explanation was, well, we don't want some vigilante driving their car through this autonomous zone. And so it was like, you're protecting these people that are, like,
trespassing,
committing crimes and, you know, taking over precincts. And there was reports of, I mean, there was a few murders. There was reports of rapes. Like, it was not a good thing. And then we're like, you know what? We're going to put some concrete up.
Well, we're not allowing the cops in here. You're free.
Yeah.
It's fair game. Like,
yeah. So now the streets are back to normal. But you can definitely see some of the, you know, remnants of what happened. So, you know, a lot of stores closed down and stuff like that. And it's a shame that we let it get to that.
Yeah, it's a shame. You
yeah.
know, you look at New York City since COVID, a lot of businesses haven't come back.
Yeah, COVID was a crazy time for everybody. It just, walking around and plastic gowns and masks everywhere. It was crazy.
Yeah. Insane. Another
Yeah.
thing that almost seemed like it was funded by somebody. But I'm not going to get political. This isn't a political show. But I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
All right. So you leave the police department. How long were you a cop?
11 months. The first time I put Seattle Police Department on my resume update to the fire department, they said, we want to hire you. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or if it just was happenstance, but in my opinion, that HR lady hooked me up. I showed up to her retirement party. Sue Skaggs, you're my girl. That's a shout out to Sue. She hooked me up. So 11 months and straight over to the fire department.
Yeah, that's awesome. Back to academy.
Yeah, straight in. Like you would have thought I was a good student or something because I was doing academies like crazy.
If I had all that time.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now, what did you do about Charleston? Did you call the chief and say, hey?
Yeah, so I called him and I said, hey, I got picked up, and he was super cool. He's like, call me when you graduate, because like God forbid something happened or I got hurt or something like that.
Awesome.
Like, well, I think I was again very fortunate. I was surrounded by good people. I had good leadership there. It probably helped that they have staffing issues there. You know, there's a sign at Charleston's Academy that says we train the nation's best firefighters. And I remember crossing the gate the first day and I was like, this is awesome. That's cool. And as I was leaving, because you go there to turn your gear in right next door, the captain, or now captain, that was my training instructor, he was like, that's why that sign's there, because we train you, you get experience, and you go elsewhere because we can't compete with what other places offer. So
I know some other departments that are like that.
Yeah, I imagine you do. I could think of a few. So
these guys here, I just found this
some
picture.
Some of the best.
Yeah.
So the dude down on the bottom, Bob Mack, he's the chief now.
Yeah.
Arnold Miller's a volunteer chief. Dustin works in the Midwest now. And
is
then
he a fireman again?
Yeah, he is.
The last I heard, he was he left the fire service and.
Yeah, he did. He called me when I was out here, and he was like, he goes, bro, you've taken a lot of interviews. You've done a lot of oral boards. I said, yeah, I have. He was like, can you help me prepare for one? And so he works out in the Midwest now, and he's killing it as a firefighter, and his wife's like a doctor, and they got kids now.
Okay.
And then Greg and Greg on the end to my right there, they're both still in Bordentown, and they're killing it as officers now.
Lieutenants. And Swanson is actually a big union guy.
I know. I love that. He was always a big union guy for us, but I heard he's doing big things for the state now, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, he's doing huge things.
That's a good group of people, man. I learned a lot from all the people in Bordentown there, and got a lot of experience there, a lot of experience on the turnpike. Had some pretty memorable calls on the pike
295.
There. Yeah, you got a lot of good spots there. It was like you were right in the middle of everything. You had 206, 130, the turnpike, 295, all within a few minutes of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, it was busy.
Yeah.
So all right, so you get the call, you get the nod. You get the invite to join the Seattle Fire Department.
Yep.
Turned in the badge and the gun. How was their academy? How
it was tough. It was definitely tough. I still felt Charleston's was the toughest I'd ever been to. Seattle's was definitely more structured. Like you showed up and they handed you this big ass binder, and it was like, here's all the state evaluations you have to go through. Here's all our expectations. And like the first day you stand at the gates to get in, because like you don't even have a key card to get into the complex. And this guy comes walking up, and I see the captain bars, and he's got a big smile on his face. It's like, oh, what a nice guy. He looks super happy. It's like, it's a Wednesday. So the way they start our academy is you do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the following week you start Mondays. So we show up Wednesday, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Well, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm like, damn, this is all right. This is not going to be too bad. Like, you do your HR shit, you do like all the paperwork, and here's your pension stuff and your benefits. And the whole time the captain's like super nice. And I was like, man, all right, Cap, this is cool. You show up Monday and it was like a whole change. Like, you walk in and there's just a line of instructors and it's all lieutenants, and not one of them looked happy to see you. And it was like, are you guys done with all your paperwork bullshit? Good. Now it's time to work. And it was a complete change. And it was 15 or 16 weeks of hell. And it was good. Still talk to most of the people I went to recruit school with. Now we're in that stage where people are trying to figure out. At the time, I think we started with like 40, and I think we graduated like 28.
Okay. Now
we're doing these crazy amounts of classes. Like, people are starting, we're doing like 60 and 70 starting.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it was a good academy. It was tough. I remember my truck lieutenant was a Army Ranger, and I was like, I swear to God, this guy could find a pot of gold and still be pissed off at me. Like, I don't know what is going on. But I liked it because, they have to build that artificial stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can't light a building on fire and throw somebody in there. So they're trying to see how you handle every bit of stress. And so, yeah, I got through academy. It was great. Felt like I earned it. And then I was like, cool, I'm gonna have my dad pin me. And they're like, actually, you don't get a badge until you get off probation. Shit. Okay. So
you don't get a badge till you get off probation. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. So you wear a button up. You wear a button up and you get the badge at probation. So everybody in the department knows who you are until you get that badge, because you don't have a badge. They know that means we have 1,000 people in the department. So
yeah,
it's tough to know everybody, but whether you know somebody or not, if you see their shirt and you see they don't have a badge on, that pretty telling.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So I got out of recruit school, and they pick. So in Charleston, you got out of recruit school and they would do an exit interview. Where do you want to go? What kind of things are you thinking of doing in the department? And they would ask you that with the caveat of, like, technically you won't really give a fuck what you want to do, but we're asking. And then allegedly, if you were in the top 3, top 5, you would get a choice.
Okay.
In Seattle, you don't get a choice. They don't care what you want. They don't ask. They come in on one of the last days and they're like, Palombi, engine 28, B shift. And then they just go through and tell everybody where they're going.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I showed up to the station.
No case of scotch. Like,
nope, nothing. Charleston, they had bleachers set up, and companies that had vacancies would come by and sit on the bleachers and watch you. They wouldn't talk to you. They would watch you perform, and then they'd go talk to the training captain or the training chief and be like, oh, that's our guy. That's the guy we want. And so, like, in my exit interview at Charleston, they said, where do you want to go? And I was like, I want to go to a truck company. And they were like, well, there's engine this and engine that, and you could be downtown, like, you'll be in the heart of it. And I was like, you started with engine? No, I'm good. I'd like to go to a truck company.
Do you know how tall I am? My head will get burned.
I am built for truck. That is all I've got. But in Seattle, everybody has to go to an engine, and it's not based on vacancy. There's a rotation, and it's, figured out by the higher ups, but you go to an engine, and if they're fully staffed, somebody gets detailed out. And so they come out, they do like 4 months on an engine. And then when I came in, it was 2 months on a truck, and then you finish on the engine. Now, just with staffing, it's 4 months on the engine, then you get 6 shifts on the truck, and then you finish out on the same engine. So it's heavy on the engine work and less on the truck work. And their thought is they're developing a truck academy. And so if you want to get assigned to a truck, you have to go to the truck academy and get all these sign-offs done. And then if you do that, then you're eligible to do truck work.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So I would,
and there's something to say about having a taste of everything. Just
Yeah.
like I always say to people that come in the fire service and they want to be drivers right off the bat, I always
Yeah.
tell them, like, until I'll teach you how to run the pump. I'll teach you how to hook up to it and flow water. We'll do all that stuff. You don't belong on this pump panel until you've been on that nozzle and you
Yeah.
know what that plus or minus 10 pounds does and feels like when
Yep.
you're already in a shitty situation. And they look at me and they're like, well, I don't know how you can say that. The one kid, he's like, well, the academy. I'm like, no, nope.
It's different.
I was like, well, then you know what? You need somebody else to driver train you.
Yeah.
And I'm the company engineer, so have fun.
Yeah, I think there's something to say about getting a little bit of experience to everything, but I don't mind the idea of a truck academy.
I love the idea.
We have 33 engines, 13 trucks, so sometimes we'll get an engine person just because of staffing and get detailed over to tailboard for us. And all our trucks are tillers, so you've got driver, tiller, officer, and then you've got a tailboarder. And when we get a tailboard detail in, sometimes they come from an engine. And the one thing I love about that is, like, a while back we had an engine guy come over. This dude is salty as hell. Been a driver on an engine for a long time, well respected. He's like, hey man, I haven't been on a truck in like 15 years. And he's looking at me, comparatively, I have like 4 minutes on the job there. He's like, can you teach me some rope stuff? And maybe we could force some doors and throw some ladders. And I thought, like, that's the guy I want to be.
Yeah.
That no matter how much time he's got in, that's who I want to be.
He knows his deficiencies and he's willing to admit it.
Yeah. So
I'll take that all day long.
Heck yeah. So anyway, everybody goes to an engine. So here I am on an engine, engine 28 in the Rainier Valley, which just happens to be the same station that I'm still at. And I had my officer was this, I don't know, he was maybe 5'4", 5'5", like this.
Doesn't make him a bad person.
No. Easy there with your guilty conscience.
Doesn't make him a bad person, Joe.
He was this like little salty officer, and he was probably one of the baddest fucking dudes I ever worked with. Like, he wasn't scared of shit. We would show up and he'd be like, nah, we can get that. And he had this ability to look at a building and see where the fire was coming from and look at our rig, and he'd be like, nah, you could hit that with a pre-connect. Or he would look and he'd be like, no, we got to extend that. We're going to do 300. And he would never be wrong. It was amazing. He definitely one of the best people I ever got to work with, just super knowledgeable, really a great experience. Then I did my truck work on ladder 12, just right across the floor. So I stayed in house, did my truck work, and I was like, man, this is great. But probation was not easy. Like, it was, I got to be careful what I say because hazing is a big deal. But they didn't make it easy on you.
Allegedly.
Yeah, they definitely made you earn your spot, and I loved it. It was hard. I remember I came home to my wife one day and I said, I'm never going back to that station when I get done probation, because it was hard. And when you get done probation anyway, you don't have a choice. You get done probation, they're like, yeah, get out. You're taking a spot from one of our guys. So then you get put in this staffing pool, and they look at a vacancy list, and they're like, all the vacancy list comes out every month. And so here comes the list, and they're like, you go here, and everything's based on seniority, and I have none.
Yeah.
So I went to a truck company in West Seattle because all I wanted was to be on a truck. So I went to a truck company in West Seattle. I was there for 4 months. I got a phone call from a guy on ladder 12. He said, I'm retiring. I was like, cool, man. Congrats. Good for you. And he was like, I want you to take my spot. And I was like, oh, okay. I would love that, but I don't have any time. Like, I don't think that's going to work. And he goes, just go through the process and do the right thing. And so the right thing for us is you show up to the station and ask, hey guys, I'm interested in this spot. Can I put in? And you don't show up empty handed. There's rules in the Seattle Fire Department, and it's you don't bring grocery store donuts, you don't bring grocery store cookies, and they want ice cream that rolls. So if it's a square box, not real ice cream, they don't want it. And so thankfully I did probation there. So I knew like this, the salty driver, he had 2 rules. He doesn't like bone-in chicken and he hates mint ice cream. So I was like, all right, I know what not to bring. And I came through and they interviewed me. They were like, why do you want to be here? What's your goals? What do you want to do in 5 years? And I went through each person on the truck and talked to each of them. And at the end, they were like, it was so underwhelming because I thought like it would be like, we'd love for you to put in. All the guys were super cool, real nice. The one guy that's now my driver, he's got a few years more than I do.
So real quick, when they asked you what was your goals in 5 years, did you point to the tiller seat and say, "That's
Get the fuck out. That's mine.
That's mine in 5 years. And 20 years, I'm still going to be there. So that's my goals."
No, so the driver, his name was Steve Venera. He had 30 years in the department, all on ladder 12. He was on ladder 12 before it was a tiller and it was a straight frame. He knew that district like no other. When they got their first tiller, he was there. Wow. That guy was a wealth of knowledge. And he was like, why do you want to come here? And I loved the district. Like the bio said, like it's super diverse. I think there's like 120 languages spoken just in the zip code that I serve. It's pretty crazy. We get a lot of good calls. We're not overwhelmed with like smells and bells, but we get a lot of good calls. We're in a good district and we see a good bit of fire. And he said, why? And I was like, man, I want to learn from guys like you. And that wasn't even like kissing ass. That dude knew everything about the truck, about the job. Like when I was learning the tiller, because everybody has to be at least trained on it. When I was learning tiller, he's like, all right, we're going to back in this spot, turn the wheel a quarter turn and I'll do the rest. And like, I could have closed my eyes and just turned the wheel a quarter and he could have put it anywhere. He taught me everything he knew about that truck. He was just a good fireman. And I was fortunate enough to get to work with him for a few years and work with him on his last fire. Now he's living the good life on the east side of the state and built himself a nice house up by a river. But, I wanted to learn from the driver had 30 years and the tiller had like 23. Damn. And I was like, just on fires. They never ran, but they always moved with a purpose. And it just, I think maybe they floated. Like, I think that there was an aura around them and they were floating to the fire, but everything they did was smooth. Like they could have a full conversation and have look at me, have a full conversation and they're done the conversation. I look and they have like a full rigging system up. I'm like, how? And I just wanted to be that good. Like I wanted to be the best. And so I wanted to train with the best. Yeah. So I put in for the spot. I got a call from the staffing officer and he's like, hey, it came down to you and one other guy. And I was like, oh shit. I guess he got it. And the rule is no shit. The policy says if it comes down to 2 people from the same class, it comes down to a coin flip. That's the policy. And so the staffing officer has to walk in with, I don't know if he's got some fucking magical coin, but he walks in and somebody from HR has to watch and he's like, and then whoever it lands on wins the spot.
So wait a second. This is like an actual HR policy.
Absolutely. So it came down to a coin flip and I won. So, but the thing is that like, it's a desired spot. So like, I figured I had no chance. And apparently I come to find out that other people called because, you're supposed to ask, and the guys, Steve and the tillerman apparently said, we have a guy that we, think will fit in. And that was me. And at that point I was like, man, I've got huge shoes to fill now. Yeah. So I just, every day I came in and I'm like, I don't want to overwhelm these guys because they've got a ton of time in, but I was like a puppy. I'd walk in like, what do you want to do today? What can we work on? Yeah. But and that's awesome. Like it was really great. I think I say I'm lucky and I do feel that I'm very fortunate to have these things happen. But a lot of times people, that don't believe in luck and they're like, no, you put yourself in this situation. I think it's a mix of both. I had a hell of a foundation from the people I got to work with in New Jersey, and I just got fortunate enough to build upon that.
All right.
And then sometimes things just fall into place. So the Seattle opened another truck company. So Ladder 13 went into service in West Seattle.
Okay.
The Tillerman was like, you know what? I'm going to go be the driver over there. So he left and went to be the driver. And we have 5 people assigned to the truck, but 4 people staff it. So then when somebody's off, we don't have to keep hiring.
Okay.
But they get detailed out a good bit. Like tailboarders get detailed out. And so he went over there and they were like, we're not going to fill his spot until, you know, this temporary truck company becomes permanent.
Okay.
So I was like, sweet, no details. I don't have to leave the station.
Yes!
And then, one guy went off on personal leave. And so a year and 4 months, they were like, you're tillering. I was like, fuck yeah. Are you sure? Like, I'm going to start climbing up before you change your mind. And then I was fortunate enough to tiller for that guy with that 30 years in. I got to tiller for Steve, and I just took everything I could get from him. And then he got hurt, and it just bumped. The guy that was on personal leave came back. He was the driver, and I was the tiller. And then Steve came back, and I was like, thank God. And he goes, I just wanted to tell you guys I'm retiring. I was like, no, you're not. Disagree. Like,
strongly disagree with this.
Yeah, we're not okay with this. Like, we still have more to learn from you. And he said, no. He goes, I took a good amount of time and worked with you guys, and I feel confident leaving Ladder 12 in your hands. And it was probably the biggest compliment I've ever gotten from a firefighter. And so now, like, every day, I strive to.
You gotta live up to that.
Yeah, I want to. Like, we're in our station, we're definitely the youngest driver tiller combo, and we've been together 4 years now, or 5 years now almost, and we're
what
still
year
the
did
youngest.
You start with Seattle Fire?
2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Wow.
And so, like, every day I'm like, we gotta fill those shoes. Like, we gotta make sure we're representing those guys well. And the other 3 shifts, the drivers, they've got, 25, 30 years plus on there. And then there's us who have like 6 and 9 years. So just trying to do our thing and represent the company well.
Yeah. No, that's awesome though. But like, you look at it, if one of you doesn't screw up and, get promoted, or that's a career.
You don't leave the best seat you don't leave the best seat in the fire service for anything.
No, not at all. Not at all.
We have lieutenants and captains that are like, I wish I never left.
Yeah. How many cops do you know that say they wish they were firemen?
Bro, I yell it out the window of the tiller cab every time I see him. I'm like, we're hiring in October. Yeah.
I'd expect nothing less from you, brother.
Yeah.
So, all right. So give us a little breakdown of the Seattle Fire Department. You said something about 33 engines and 13 trucks?
I think we're 33 engines, 13 trucks, 1 rescue company right now. Our trucks are true trucks. We don't carry any water other than our pump can. All tillered aerials. And for us, so a driver's seat is a promotion. So we get driver's pay.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you own that seat. So the only
now is that actually like a written test promotion to driver? Or?
It's time and grade, and then there's a written test to be a driver, and physical assessment. Like, we have a whole bunch of truck drills we have to do.
Okay.
To get certified, but then the vacancy has to open, so you can get certified, and you can be certified as a driver and tiller. But all that means is you can act as a driver or tiller until a spot opens up. And then when a spot opens up, if you get it, then you get the promotion.
Okay.
If not, like, all of our tailboarders on the truck have to be at least tiller certified. So then if the tillerman's off, the tailboarder bumps to the back to tiller, and he gets acting pay for the day.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, true trucks. Any truck has an engine in-house with them. I'm fortunate I have an engine and a medic in our station, so I can, kind of bounce things off anybody when I'm there.
Okay.
We've got we're based in battalions, so Battalion 2 is downtown. Battalion 3 is covering for all the medics, so it's not like a centralized location. It just covers the medics.
Okay.
Battalion 4 and 6 are up north. Battalion 5 is where I'm at in the Rainier Valley, and then Battalion 7 is West Seattle.
Okay.
So we have a battalion chief for each battalion, 1 deputy on per shift. So we have 4 deputy chiefs, and then the deputies only respond to significant incidents, and they'll take command once the battalion chief passes it to them.
Okay.
We cover, we've got a lot of waterfront. People take cruises out of Seattle all the time, at least this time of year. They're looking at trying to open a second rescue up north. But the cool thing is that like a lot of our truck officers are just real. They've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
I learned a ton. Now he's a captain, but he was a lieutenant at the time up north in the U district, where the college is. And that man bled truck company operations. That man loves his 28-foot ladder. That man loves vertical vent. And I've learned so much from him.
Okay.
He went and did that dumb thing to promote to captain. Now he's on an engine. But the department has 1,000 members. We got a 4-platoon system. So we work 1 on, 2 off, 1 on, 4 off. So 24, 48, 24, 96. So it's a 4-shift system, but we get like a short week and a long week. So you get you're off for 2 or off for 4. But that 4-day, damn, that feels nice.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I think I'm on my 4-day right now. I am. Yeah. What else? We're pretty fortunate. Special events. We have the Seahawks, the Mariners, the soccer team, the Sounders. We have a lot of special events, and the fire department staffs those for EMS for sure. If there's any pyrotechnics, then the fire department or the firefighters get to as well. So like Saturday night, I'm going to go work the Kenny Chesney concert. Yeah. We get a lot of cool opportunities. I got to work last year. The baseball all-star game was in Seattle, and I got to work all of that. I should have sent you that photo. We showed up, and they were like, there's going to be a lot of kids out on the field to try to catch home runs at the home run derby. Yeah. So we're trying to figure out where to stage you. And a friend of mine was working. He's a driver on ladder 12 on another shift, and he's got like 30 years in the department. He's like, yeah, if you put us in the bullpen, that would probably be best because that'll give us direct access to the field. And he goes, let's see what happens. And she goes, okay. And so we are standing in the bullpen. We have pictures of us on the wall at it's now T-Mobile Field, but it used to be Safeco. And we're hanging on the bullpen wall watching the home run derby. And as the first player came out, the lady comes and gives us baseball gloves. And she goes, if you're going to be in here, you may as well try to catch some home runs. And so I got paid overtime to stand in the bullpen for the baseball home run derby and catch home runs. And then we were like celebrities. We catch one, you turn around, and people be screaming for us to throw the ball to them. It was so much fun. Yeah, so we're really fortunate on the special events side that we're able to work concerts and sporting events and pretty much anything that goes on in the city, we staff. And so it's been a really cool experience. Sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to sign up because I, want the overtime. And sometimes I'm like, this is going to be cool, like a Kenny Chesney concert. Yeah. Yeah. I've got to see some pretty cool comedians. I've got to see some like just crazy bands. It's been really cool. Yeah. Having awesome. Unique opportunities that I wouldn't have had elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
The department for trucks, we run obviously fires, fire alarms. We do rope rescue. We don't do water rescue. That's up to the rescue company. And then we have separate rescue swimmers. So you can go through a rescue swimmer program. And then if you are, dispatch knows. And so when a water rescue comes in, they look at what units have a rescue swimmer on it and they'll send you. Okay. Yeah. All right. What else you want to know? We're hiring in October. Come on out.
I wish. Wish. I mean, I can't. No, so like, so your truck companies are all essentially like rescue trucks, special operations trucks.
So rescue, like we carry. So basically, the way our trucks are laid out is or at least most of them is the driver's side is all your fire stuff. The officer side is all the rescue stuff. So our vehicle extrication, rope rescue, RIT, all that stuff is on the officer side, and then our fire-wise stuff is going to be on the driver's side.
Okay.
The rescue company is supposed to do any what they consider technician level rope rescues, but we're all pretty well trained to handle, high angle, low angle, all that type of stuff.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Any? Have you ever been on top of the Space Needle?
I have.
Yeah.
So we also have, I forgot to mention, we have aid cars. They call them aid cars. They look like ambulances, but we don't transport. So the way we run EMS is it's almost like a first responder. So you get dispatched, closest unit gets dispatched to the medical call.
Okay.
We show up and then we assess them and decide if they need a medic. Unless the dispatcher gets enough information where they're like, oh yeah, this definitely needs a medic unit added, we go up and we make the decision. And then we can cancel the medics if they're dispatched, or if they're not dispatched and we're like, we need them, we'll call them. But the medics only transport ALS. And then we have a contract with AMR who transports all our BLS patients. So we don't do any transport, but our aid cars are just to take the heat off of some of the downtown companies and the busier companies. And so I had a few years in and I was like, I had a newer person with me. We were on an aid car and he was like, I've never been to the Space Needle. I was like, well, that's our district. Let's go.
We got to do some familiarization.
Pulled up to the aid car to the Space Needle and we go walking in and the guy's like, is everything okay? And I was like, oh shit. Yeah, everything's fine. So we're just here trying to figure out if there's a call here today, how we're going to handle it and how we capture an elevator and, figure all that out. He's like, I'll take care of you. So he takes me and my partner to the top of the Space Needle and he shows us around. He's walking us around the top of the Space Needle and he says, I'll give you guys a little bit of time for yourselves. And then when you're done, you guys can just catch the elevator down. Okay, cool. And so we walked around the Space Needle and, naturally took some touristy photos like we were,
Those weren't on your Facebook.
Yeah, I wonder why.
That would have been awesome. See, I could have pulled that up from the top.
You don't put, I try not to represent my agency, so I don't put pictures of me in uniform on my Facebook.
I didn't say a picture of you. I said a picture of the view.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying.
Next time. So I've been to the top of the Space Needle. Very cool.
All right. That's awesome. So, all right. Well, if you got, any shout outs, anything you want to touch on, your nonprofit, let's talk about this.
Oh, we're just getting started. So, we're just getting started in, the nonprofit thing. So peer support, came in to us. Like we have a peer support team for Seattle Fire. My wife got into it on the police department side and we recognized the need for it, right? When I came in, and I still consider at 17 plus years, I still consider myself fairly new to the fire service, just because I look at like people like your old man, my old man, and guys we grew up around that are senior firefighters, right? Mm-hmm. And when we came in, it was like, I remember it. It was, oh man, he needs to go talk to somebody after that call, what a baby. Or whatever, whatever choice word. But then it was like, I don't really know if I want him on my crew. I don't want to ride a rig with him if he can't even handle himself on a call. Yeah. And so that, like, I didn't recognize it at the time, but now looking back, I'm like, damn, that kind of conditioned me to think that
it wasn't okay to not be okay.
If you need help, that you're weak. And I had a bad call in South Carolina and got a little bit of burn on me, and I was kind of messed up, and I was like, fucking hold it in, man. You got to suck it up. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to hold it in. And then, that's not going to be healthy for you. And it doesn't go well. I know for a fact it did not go well for me. Yeah. And I ended up talking to my dad, or I talked to my mom first, who was a nurse, and I was like, I'm just not doing okay. I got to figure something out. And it was a lot for me to open up. She goes, tell your dad. I go, absolutely not.
That's
no
a
fucking
horrible
way.
decision.
Nope. Hard pass, Mom. Thanks anyway. Nice knowing you. And she was like, you'd be surprised. And so I talked to my dad, and my dad was like, go talk to somebody, you idiot. And so it almost felt like I got his approval. Like,
Yeah.
It's you're not weak to go talk to somebody. And it helped me out a ton. And I came out here, and everybody's like, peer support now seems to be like a buzzword. Everybody wants to say they have peer support team because it's almost like it's a requirement.
Mm-hmm.
But do they really take care of you, And so my wife and I work or volunteer for a company that does retreats for first responders that have had significant issues.
Okay.
And the first one we did, we just went out helping a friend of ours who was a police officer. He said, I think you guys will be great. The first one we did, people are trying to get to know you. And we said, oh, yeah, we have a farm and we have all these weird animals, but we like it. And one of the patients was like, well, why don't you bring the animals? Oh, I can't bring the animals here. This is a responder wellness thing. And so we got done the week of wellness, and we stayed in touch with the one girl who was a police officer in California. She got hit by a drunk driver, messed up pretty bad. She was pinned under the car for like 10 minutes till the fire department could get on scene and airbag their car off of her.
Oh, shit.
And so we had kind of floated around the idea of doing something with the animals. And
now, what kind of weird animals?
Right now we have mini cows, mini donkeys, alpacas, pigs, chickens, ducks. We've got 3 dogs. One's asleep next to me. Got a couple cats. I've got a wallaby.
Just because they're not your size doesn't make them mini, Joe.
You're my mini friend, Nick. And then the weirdest one we have right now is a wallaby.
A wallaby?
Yeah. Like a little 3-foot tall kangaroo. She's upstairs right now.
It's in the house?
Right now she is. She's hanging out with my wife.
From Wrightstown to wallabies.
To a 16-acre farm. My wife and I joke because people will be like, why do you have so many animals and so many random animals? And we both say the same thing. We're adults. Nobody could tell us not to. There's nobody that could say no. But my wife is still a police officer, but right now she's hurt. She got a pretty significant injury saving a kid's life.
Oh, shit.
And she recognized that what was helping her was the animals. And so we did this like deep dive into the science behind why animals provide support and where the body chemistry is to provide you that support and that healing. Okay. And we were like, damn, this is a real thing. So that deputy from California was like, I would come out to your farm and hang out. And so we brought her out, and it was kind of like a test run. Like, hey, come spend the weekend at our place. We'll go do some touristy shit in Seattle, and then hang out on the farm, play with the animals and stuff like that. And she did it, and she loved it. And that kind of motivated us to get going on the nonprofit. So we're just in the process of starting it, but we've had our farm for a few years now. So, if you have Instagram, Goodfellas Farming, my wife and my daughters put up pictures and videos of the farm pretty often. And then we're just working on getting everything together so we can have some retreats here. My wife has gotten in contact with a couple of friends of hers that are police officers that want to do like specific support. So like female first responder support. Okay. Because right now there's groups that are doing these meetings, but they're doing them at like Starbucks. Like how much can you get into it? And how are you comfortable being that open about what you're feeling or some shit you saw when you know that, Lisa over here is getting her triple mocha, whatever. Like,
well, especially like you think about it in the environment you guys are in. Mm-hmm. We're sitting at a Starbucks, and now I'm talking to this little group of people, and somebody over here hears that we're cops. Mm-hmm. That just and now that, what does that make those people? What does that make the rest of the group feel? Like
Yeah,
that's a
exactly.
awkward situation in that it's, again, going back to the 80s and 90s of,
Yeah.
I don't want to tell everybody around me that we're not okay being
We're
not okay.
human. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
But and on top of that, so there's a town probably 30 minutes from here, Lakewood.
Okay.
Their cops used to go, they would go to this coffee shop and get coffee. And it became a habit. And somebody came in and shot all the cops. It was like
Oh, I think I remember that.
the Lakewood 4, they got shot and killed. So we wanted people to be able to go somewhere where they feel safe. There's a 16-acre farm. We've got a big barn, so if the weather's shit, we can do it inside. If the weather's nice like it is right now, we've got a fire pit we're setting up. We're going to build a little gazebo to have a nice little area. Ultimately, it came down to when I wasn't doing okay, I needed somebody to talk to. And when my wife wasn't doing okay, she needed somebody to talk to. And we're seeing the benefits of it.
Yeah.
And I keep seeing it's a buzzword of peer support, but even when your agency does it, and that's coming from somebody that's on the team for my agency,
Yeah.
some people don't want to reach out because they're afraid, even though legally, if you called me and you work for Seattle, I can't go back and tell the chief, like, you need help. But there's still that stigma in your mind that, like, Joe's friends with my chief. What if it slips and stuff like that? So we wanted to get something that's removed from any agency, so there's no allegiance to any agency, and that some people can just come, be comfortable, and feel close to other people that understand what they're going through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have a friend that was a Seattle firefighter that owns a coffee shop, and they offered to, like, hey, we'll cater it with coffee and stuff like that, and they offered for us to have it at their place, and they were like, just come. We close at 6. You can come and have it at our place. If the weather's terrible, if it's super cold out, come do it at our place. Like, we just want to provide support.
Yeah.
And our animals have been making people happy, and they make us happy. So we thought it'd be good to give back to people. Like, who wouldn't want to hold a wallaby? Like, guarantee you guys come out here and visit. I'm going to put that wallaby in a pouch, and you're going to walk around. I'm going to take the picture, and I'm going to post it on your website for posting all these shitty pictures of me, dick. Oh, my God. Man, you've been holding that one for a while. This is official now. I'm going to contact the police. I feel uncomfortable. You've been stalking me because that's from like 2006, you fucking creeper.
Bro, I do my research on my guests.
My God. Wow. Shame on you. Man, I'll tell you what, there was a girl in that EMT class I took, though. Oh, shit, you married her. My bad. Yeah, asshole. Anyway, back to how cool the fire service is.
How small the fire service is.
Yeah.
All right. So getting back to the show.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else? Any shout outs?
There's so many people that got me to where I am. I would be doing a disservice to start name dropping. But every agency I ever worked for, if I worked for you, thank you. Because you gave me a chance. 2, you believed in me enough to give me a chance. Cap, I just opened the comments and I see you're on here. Cap, you're one of them. Thanks for believing in me, helping me out. This has been a wild ride, like 17 years. Everybody says it. You hear it when you're new, and people are like, "Oh, it goes by quick." Yeah. Over 17 years feels like it's been the blink of an eye. But there's so many people I could thank that believed in me, that helped me, that wrote me letters of recommendation, helped me connect to people. I couldn't single people out. So thank you to everybody. New Jersey is where my heart is, man. That's where I learned to be a fireman. That's who taught me to be aggressive as a fireman. And I took that everywhere I went. And even people out here, they're like, "Oh, you're from New Jersey?" Like, "Oh, you usually don't know until I'm angry," because then you hear like the accent kick up. or like somebody tries to fight you and all of a sudden I'm like, well, let's fucking do it.
Let's go.
And they're like, oh shit. Like usually first responders just go the other way. I'm like, not me. But no, from New Jersey to South Carolina to here, I've worked with, in my opinion, some of the best people in the industry. For those that I didn't get to work with, I would go travel and learn from them. Whether I worked with you, around you on mutual aid, or took training from you, thank you, because this got me to where I am. And then for the peer support side, like if you need help, if you know me, if you don't know me, you can reach out. He tagged me on, I think, Facebook and Instagram. You reach out. I'm happy to just talk to somebody because I'm sick of going to fucking funerals, man. I'm sick of it. Any way I can help. If you want to come out to the farm, come out. We got a bedroom for you. We're doing it for every first responder and their family. So if you're out to Seattle visiting from the East Coast and you want to come out and check it out for a day, come on out. We'll pick you up.
And I will be posting the link to Goodfellas Farm Instagram on
thank you
on both the YouTube page,
sweet,
and also on the audio files. If you didn't know, we're on StreamYard. We're on all the audio podcasts.
Nice.
So
I did listen. I think it was Spotify. I was listening to some of your podcasts on. So yeah, just reach out. I'm here anytime. And then if you go on our Instagram, I'm not artistic, so all the videos are mostly my wife and my kids doing it. We do have clothing that they designed. There's 2 hoodies that I designed, and if you go on there, Nick, I guarantee if you go on there, you'll be able to guess which 2 hoodies I designed because they're inappropriate. You're welcome.
Yes. Yes. All right.
Yes.
All right. So now let's get down to business. The Jersey questions.
Oh, I love it.
All right. Is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
Oh, what asshole says Taylor ham? Sorry. This shouldn't even be a question. Everybody knows it's pork roll. Taylor is a brand. Pork roll is the heavenly delight that we are fortunate enough God exists because he proved to us by bringing us pork roll. Don't ever ask me a stupid question again, Nick.
All right. Well, this one might not be that stupid, but it might be up there as well. The best pizza. I know you're not getting it out there.
I did find a place that was called Italian Pizza out here, Italian Family Pizza downtown. And I walked in when I was testing, and they had a picture on the wall, and it was a picture of what I think is the best pizza, which is Di Lorenzo's. I'm between Di Lorenzo's in Trenton, originally in Trenton. There's one in Hamilton now, and JoJo's. If you've never had JoJo's is like in Mercerville, right by it's one of the fire companies. Great pizza. But yeah, there's a place here called Italian Family, and they had a picture of Di Lorenzo's, like the old Di Lorenzo's, on the wall. And I was like, yo, what is this? And he's like, are you Joe? I was like, yeah. He's like, you called and you had a 609 number when you ordered your pizza. I go, yeah, I'm from Trenton. Yeah. He was like, I'm from Trenton. They're not here anymore, but he made some great pizza for a while out here. But yeah, if I come back, it's Di Lorenzo's or JoJo's for sure.
All right, man. Does Central Jersey really exist?
Oh, scientifically it exists. You can look it up. There's like a marking point.
Yeah.
I learned this when I worked in Jacobstown it actually exists. I forget. It's in I want to say it's in like New Egypt, but I know there's a midpoint that's marked out. I forget where it is, but it's like the New Egypt area, but I believe it exists because I feel like I grew up in that like Mason-Dixon line of if you lived north of this, you had to be a Yankees fan. And if you lived south of this, you had to be a Phillies fan. And so I was in that Mason-Dixon line and I knew I was in there. So it definitely exists.
All right. Well, when you were back here out east, did you go down the shore or did you go to the beach?
Oh, you drove down the shore to go hang out on the beach. The shore is like a big area, and then you pick which beach you go to. Yeah, but you definitely go down the shore. You go down the shore. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your beach of choice?
Well, so I went to Ortley Beach, which was just past Seaside. My
Mm-hmm.
grandparents had a house there, 3 houses from the beach. So I grew up on that beach.
All right.
But then like the Jersey Shore thing happened, and all of a sudden you started seeing people like showing up. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to Seaside
With the
anymore.
blowouts. And...
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah, I would go to Ortley Beach. It was a little small town beach, but I loved it. That's where I learned to swim, and
Nice.
got me into the rescue swimming thing.
Nice. Proudest achievement or achievements goal, on the job.
Ooh, the Medal of Valor was really cool. Never thought that I would be fortunate enough to get anything like that, but I think most of like the achievements that I feel are big are probably not big for other people. Like the moment where my wife and kids and my dad pinned me was like, to be a Seattle firefighter is probably my proudest achievement. Just, okay. I remember being there pinning my dad, and if I could find hard copy pictures, there's like a picture of me as a kid, and my dad's holding me and I'm pinning his badge on him. And then awesome. My dad pinned me. My wife and kids came out and pinned me in Seattle. That was probably the coolest part of my career. Because I felt like, what I was doing. I was grinding all the time. I was always working. And I felt like this was the culmination of it when I got to have everybody I loved being there pinning me. That was by far the coolest thing. Other than that, like the fact when I got my Seattle fire gear issued to me, because I'd been testing for a while, and it had my last name on it on the back, and I was assigned to the truck for the first time. I was like, man, I made it. This is it. I finally feel like I'm doing it. So
that's awesome, man.
Those are not like I didn't get to do some cool roof rope rescue. That wouldn't, that's not my proudest achievement. My proudest achievement is getting where I am with the people I love.
That's awesome, man. I'm very happy for you. Who are or were some of your mentors? Biggest mentors?
Oh, my dad for sure. I guess I call him my uncle, but he's not really my uncle. Greg Gore. He's the owner of Continental Fire. He's the chief of Trenton. He was monumental in my career. Jimmy Quinn was the captain of Rescue 1 in Trenton. Good friend of the family. He was a cop before he became a firefighter in Trenton. And so he was one of my first calls when the SPD thing happened. And he was strong, encouraging. He was like, do it, man. He was like, you'll get to go do some cool shit, and then you can come back to the fire service. Yeah. All my family now, my wife, she's like my sounding board when I'm having issues or anything like that. But there's so many people in Jersey that I could thank. Like I said, everybody I worked with and everybody that taught me a class, like so fortunate. Like the way I look at it is I've got to do some cool shit, right? I feel like the helmets over my shoulders and shit, like I earned those. That's cool. But I couldn't get to all that stuff without the foundation that I got to build in Jersey. The people that took a chance on me as a 19-year-old kid and said, we'll hire you. Bro, my good and my bad. The mistakes I made, where things I could have handled better. I was young and dumb, and people that still believed in me and gave me opportunities. Again, I see Cap on here right now. Cap believed in me and gave you and I both a chance as per diems, and then took me in as a full-timer. So that's just thank you to everybody that supported me, man. I am so fucking lucky to be where I am, and I couldn't have been there without all the help I got, especially in Jersey.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. Really. Last question, and then I'll let you go. What advice do you have for the fire service? Future generations, man. Current members, past. What advice do you have for
it? It's changed over the time, I think. And after teaching a couple of recruit classes that I just got done with, it changes. So I think for like guys that are still on, for people that are still on the job, remember where you came from. Like at 17 years, and as a tillerman now, I have to remind myself that sometimes, like, you're not the shit. You're not the best firefighter there is. You never will be. There's always going to be somebody better than you. So remember when you were the new guy. Remember that, if it wasn't easy and you weren't perfect when you were on probation or when you were in a recruit school. That doesn't mean that you can't ride the probies like they're racehorses. You still got to make them earn their stripes. But also, after you're done doing that, take the time to teach them. Think about the things that you wish somebody taught you when you were on probation, or things that you had to learn the hard way, things that you wish somebody told you before you started, and teach them that. Because like the volunteer service is going away, as much as we hate it, because we all started that way, but it is. So the culture, the traditions, like everything that is only going to stay alive if you teach it.
Yep. Absolutely.
But then on the other side of that, for the new people, like I said, just got done as a truck instructor for the last recruit class. Shut the fuck up and listen. Like, you are learning from some of the best people. You're learning from people that have done it for a long time. You're learning from people that may have been in situations you couldn't even imagine. Just shut up and listen. Learn from them, good and bad. They're guaranteed. Everybody in the fire service has had a bad firefighter with them, or a bad boss or something. And in your mind, you're like kind of putting that, I'm going to age myself, but you're putting that in your like mental Rolodex, where you're like, yo, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So learn from the good and bad.
Yeah.
Emulate the good, and what makes them so good. You emulate that. And from the bad, remember that, and don't be those people.
Exactly.
And then
I say that all the time.
The last couple things, like for everybody, I say this this is my spiel to the recruits when they get their assignments and stuff, because they don't get to pick. Whatever firehouse you're at, it's the best one. Whatever rig you're on is the best one, because you're on it. If you don't think it's the best one, then you're doing something wrong, because you need to make it the best one.
Yep.
So have that pride. If you ask what truck company is the best in the city, it's Ladder 12. There are great truck companies all over the city of Seattle. Ladder 12 is the best. And I am prideful that I get to ride that truck. I'm prideful I get that patch on my shoulder because I earned it. Yeah. I want to represent that truck company and everybody that was on it before. So they are the best. And leave your bullshit at the door when you come in. Everybody's got bullshit going on. Everybody's got stuff going on in their life, stressors, kids, whatever else is going on. But that bell goes off and things change, right? Like, you're going to battle. Like, when the bell sounds, somebody else needs you. So you could hate that dude next to you. You could love him. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is making sure you all go home together. You got kids now, man. You got a wife and kids. You can have the guy on that rig next to you hate you, but he damn sure better have your back.
Yep, 100%.
And then the thing I think that gets forgotten about a lot, and I realize it more the older I get, is the retired guys. Like I said, I know Steve Venera is not watching any podcasts because he's out living his best life, but 30 plus years on Ladder 12, and then he retired. And I made this point to say, I want to make sure he knows that he's not forgotten, because that's a shit ton of experience that we just lost. So reach out to the people, the guys and gals, when they retire, let them know they're not forgotten.
Yeah.
Invite them by. Hey, we're having a coffee. We're doing dinner, whatever. Come by the station. We'd love to have you. We do 2 casino nights a year. We do one in the spring, one in the fall. And we call our retired guys and we just do, hey, we're picking a new casino. We're going to do an overnight. Come on out. Let's go have dinner and go have a good time and just enjoy it. We do a golf outing in the summer. We do a softball tournament we just did yesterday. Like, bring those retired people back. They gave a big portion of their life to be in that fire service with you. Let them know they're not forgotten, because what I'm learning in peer support is that when they leave the fire service, it's almost like they're leaving a piece of them. Yeah. And some people are doing great. Other people are secretly battling with some depression and, stressing out and missing it. Yeah. And then my last thing that I swear this is the last one, but I experienced this the other day on overtime, and I thought it was the weirdest thing. Put your phone down. Like, don't hide in your bunk room. Like, we have, I love it because it's way easier to sleep, but we all have our own bunk rooms. So we went from dormitory style bunks, and now you got your own bunk, which is cool. Yeah. But don't hide in your bunk room. Like, the firehouse table will solve every of the world's problems if you sit there. Yep. But it's the culture of the firehouse. So get off your phone, get out of your bunk room, come hang out in the kitchen. We call it the beanery, but come hang out, bust each other's bust each other's balls, play pranks on each other.
We had a kid the other day, young guy in the firehouse, AirPods in.
Oh no.
Doing his day chores, AirPods in. I'm like, all right, whatever. He's tuning shit out. He's listening to music, whatever. Goes to drive the rig. Has his AirPods in. The captain goes, what the are you doing? Get that out of your fucking head.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't care. You're not listening to music. You are driving the fire truck right now.
Yeah.
Take it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So
get off your phone. What department that was at, but
yeah, get off your phone. Enjoy the firehouse culture. Go do your 24. I am fortunate enough to get to hang out with my best friends in the world, or some of my best friends in the world, and they pay me to do it. We'll play pranks on each other. We're gonna bust each other's balls, but at the end of the day, man, that's what we got. Like,
and when the bell goes off, it's all over. Let's go to work.
Yeah, man, enjoy it. This is the best fucking job in the world. We earned it to be here. Go enjoy it because it goes quick, man. It goes too quick.
Yeah, absolutely it does.
Yeah, that's all I got,
it's
man.
It's like half over already for us.
Yeah. Dude, half shit.
Well, you just hit the reset button again. All right, well, I'm going to bump you out.
Yeah, man.
We'll say our goodbyes off the air. I'm going to bump you into the backstage area.
All right.
Say goodnight. Send everybody off on their way.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Pleasure's all ours, Joe. All right, everybody. That wraps up run number 22 with Firefighter Palombi from Seattle Fire Department. Again, check out on Saturday. The NJ FEMSI is having their second annual conference at Middlesex County Fire Academy. Check them out. Get your tickets on social media. Next week, we have another great episode. Chief Brian DeBoer from Mine Hill will be on with us talking about some great things. Until then, stay safe and have a great week, everybody.